Hi, I'm Maddie Martinez, and we're here to talk about Chapter 8 of The Artist's Way. It's called Recovering a Sense of Strength. This week is about time, excavating the early conditioning that may have encouraged you to settle for far less than you deserve creatively. I am in a time crunch. I want to go see Bernie Sanders in Michigan at 2:30. Doors open at 2:30. I want to be there at 12:30. So I'm going to leave in like 23 minutes, and I'm debating, I'm like, I need to get this video done. And also, what if this is my last chance to see Bernie? Because I don't know how many times I'll get to see him. This will be my 4th time that I have seen him total. But I was on the fence, and then I was like, maybe I shouldn't go. And then now I'm like, no, I have to go because it could be my last chance. I don't know. I had a really rough night and the rough morning emotionally, so I hope this all makes sense. This week, for me, I've done my pages most days, I think 6 days. I did an artist date that was... I don't think I had an artist date. Yes, I did. I went for a run and I listened to some older songs that I like. And that felt like an artist date because I haven't really been able to run because it's been so cold. The first section of this chapter is called Survival. One of the most difficult tasks as an artist must face is a primal one, artistic survival. This section was about protecting ourselves from the criticism of teachers, editors, mentors, who are often the authority figures or parent figures for a young artist. The criticism that damages an artist is the criticism, well-intentioned or ill, that contains no saving kernel of truth, yet has a certain damning plausibility or an unassailable blanket judgment that cannot be rationally refuted. I had a hard time processing this section in my mind, so that's why I don't have a ton of quotes from it. It felt a little bit monotonous, like, yeah, we've been over this point before, which kind of makes me feel like this was just a filler section for me. The next section is called the Ivory Power. This section was about the power that a teacher or a mentor can have on the confidence of an artist. My favorite quote from this section was, often audacity, not authentic talent, confers fame on an artist. The lack of audacity, pinched out by critical abuse or malnourished through neglect, may cripple many artists far superior to those we publicly acclaim. In order to recover our sense of hope and the courage to create, we must acknowledge and mourn the scars that are blocking us. This process may seem both painstaking and petty, but is a necessary rite of passage. Just as a teenager must gain autonomy from an overbearing parent, so too an artist must gain autonomy from malignant artistic mentors. Julia says we need to feel our wounds and mourn them in order to heal them. I hope that that's what I've been doing the past day, because I've been crying a lot. Give yourself the dignity of admitting your artistic wounds. That is the first step in healing them. The next section is called Gain Disguised as Loss. Every loss must always be viewed as a potential gain. It's all in the framing. Every end is a beginning, we know that, but we tend to forget it as we move through grief. Struck by loss, we focus, understandably, on what we leave behind, the lost dream of the work's successful fruition and its buoyant reception. We need to focus on what lies ahead. We need to ask, how can this loss serve me? Where does it point my work? The answers will surprise and liberate you. The trick is to metabolize pain as energy. I do think I've done this a lot with running and working out, and I think it has healed me. She says, don't let the bastards get you down. Artists who take this to heart survive and often prevail. The key here is action. Pain that is not used profitably quickly solidifies into a leaden heart, which makes any action difficult. When faced with a loss, immediately take one small action to support your artist. Even if all you're doing is buying a bunch of tulips or a sketch pad, your action says, I acknowledge you and your pain. I promise you a future worth having. Like a small child, our artist needs mommying. Ouch, that hurt. Here's a little treat, a lullaby, a promise. The next section is called Age and Time, Product and Process. It begins with question. Do you know how old I'll be by the time I learn to play piano? Answer. The same age you will be if you don't. So time's going to pass anyway, so why would you waste that time not doing the thing that you want to do? I'm too old is something we tell ourselves to save ourselves from the emotional cost of the ego deflation involved in being a beginner. Julia writes, I'm too old to go to film school, I told myself at 35, and when I got to film school, I discovered that I was indeed 15 years older than my classmates. I also discovered I had greater creative hunger, more life experience, and a much stronger learning curve. Now that I've taught in a film school myself, I find that very often my best students are those who came to their work late. I had that experience when I took a couple film classes at my local community college. I was older than my classmates, but I was ready to work, and I didn't have that when I was their age. I didn't have the confidence that I do now in a classroom to ask questions and push back on things that I think I don't have a handle on, but I'm uncertain about asking about, but I'm ready now to just be honest about where I'm at instead of being concerned about feelings of embarrassment for not being more than what I want to be. So in a classroom, I can be very vulnerable now and put myself in a position to learn and be a student rather than having ego around being young and needing to be cool or worrying about being cringe. I'm too old is an evasive tactic. It is always used to avoid facing fear. We do not want to look crazy, but being crazy can be a prerequisite to creative exploration. Creativity occurs in the moment, and in the moment we are timeless. We discover that as we engage in a creative recovery, I felt like a kid, we may say, after a satisfying artist day. Kids are not self-conscious, and once we are actually in the flow of our creativity, neither are we. As Black creatives, we like to pretend that a year or even several years is a long, long time. Our ego plays this little trick to keep us from getting started. Instead of allowing ourselves a creative journey, we focus on the length of the trip. It's such a long way, we tell ourselves. It may be, but each day is just one more day with some motion in it, and that motion toward a goal is very enjoyable. At the heart of the anorexia of artistic avoidance is the denial of process. We like to focus on having learned a skill or on having made an artwork. This attention to final form ignores the fact that creativity lies not in the done, but in the doing. I am writing a screenplay is infinitely more interesting to the soul than I have written a screenplay, which pleases the ego. I am in an acting class is infinitely more interesting than I took an acting class a few years ago. In a sense, no creative act is ever finished. You can't learn to act because there is always more to learn. Arguably, you cannot even direct a film because you will always be redirecting it even years later. You will know then what you might have done and what you will do next if you keep working. This doesn't mean that the work accomplished is worthless. Far from it. It simply means that doing the work points the way to new and better work to be done. Focused on process, our creative life retains a sense of adventure. Focused on product, the same creative life can feel foolish or barren. We inherit the obsession with product and the idea that art produces finished product from our consumer-oriented society. This focus creates a great deal of creative block. Fixated on the need to have something to show for our labors, we often deny our curiosities. Every time we do this, we are blocked. Our use of age as a block to creative work interlocks with our toxic finished product thinking. We have set an appropriate age on certain activities. College graduation, going to med school, writing a first book. This artificial ego requirement asks us to be done when what we truly yearn for is to start something. The beginner's humility and openness lead to exploration. Exploration leads to accomplishment. All of it begins at the beginning and with the first small and scary step. I think our culture has a major problem with ageism. I was talking about how excited I was to see Bernie on TikTok, and somebody commented on my video and said, maybe I'd be excited for a concert, but not to see an old man. Bro, do you even know who this old man is? This old man is a big deal, and I love him. He's my hero. I also don't want to be creepy in the way that people are about Trump to Bernie, but I really look up to Bernie, and I'm grateful for the devotion that he's had for America, American people, and for our planet. And sometimes it seems like he's the only one really fighting for us and fighting till the very end. I mean, I don't know how old he is, but he is old. Next section. Filling the form. Filling the form means taking the next small step, the next right thing, instead of skipping ahead to a large one for which you may not yet be prepared. It is best to just admit that there is always one action you can take for your creativity daily. This daily action commitment fills the form. Blocked creatives like to think they are looking at changing their whole life in one fell swoop. This form of grandiosity is very often its own undoing. By setting the jumps too high and making the price tag too great, the recovering artist sets defeat in motion. Creative people are dramatic, and we use negative drama to scare ourselves out of our creativity with this notion of wholesale and often destructive change. Fantasizing about pursuing our art full-time, we fail to pursue it part-time or at all. This is so me, and it ties in with this last week's talk about perfectionism, and I think everything has got to change at once instead of focusing on the small steps to get to that change. Indulging ourselves in a frantic fantasy of what our life would look like if we were real artists, we fail to see the many small creative changes that we can make at this very moment. This kind of look at the big picture thinking ignores the fact that a creative life is grounded in many small steps and very, very few large leaps. Rather than take a scary baby step towards our dreams, we rush to the edge of the cliff and then stand there quaking, saying, I can't leap, I can't. No one is asking you to leap. That's just drama. And for the purposes of a creative recovery, drama belongs on the page or on the canvas or in the clay or in the acting class or in the acts of creativity, however small. Creativity requires activity, and this is not good news to most of us. It makes us responsible, and we tend to hate that. You mean I have to do something in order to feel better? Yes, and most of us hate to do something when we can obsess about something else instead. One of our favorite things to do instead of our art is to contemplate the odds. Filling the form means that we must work with what we have rather than languish in complaints over what we have not. Small actions lead us to the larger movements in our creative lives. Take one small action daily instead of indulging in the big questions. When we allow ourselves to wallow in the big questions, we fail to find the small answers. What we are talking about here is a concept of change grounded in respect. Respect for where we are as well as where we wish to go. We are looking not to grand strokes of change, although they may come, and instead to the act of creatively husbanding all that is in the present this job, this house, this relationship. Recovering creatives commonly undergo bouts of fierce rage and grief over their lost years. Maybe that's where I've been the past couple days, full of rage and grief. Also, with everything that's happening with our government, with our world, I feel very turbulent. But I think it is, those feelings are also tied in with the feelings of recognizing how stuck I really still am, even though this is my second time doing the artist way. But I think it's helping. We often find that when we fill the form, we do not often need to make large changes. Large changes occur in tiny increments. I am full of drama, and I have often felt like everything needed to change at once in order to create the life I wanted. I have been just full of that great rage and grief, as I said. And I think it's also thinking back to how sorrowful I felt over my parents' divorce and feelings of rejection from high school, or feelings of rejection in certain friend groups, feeling like I'm too much, I'm not enough. This whirlwind of shit. It's just, that's where I've been this past day. And I can't even talk about it really. I haven't been able to talk about it with my husband Hayden because it just feels like too much to explain. Everything's tied in. It's not one thing, it's everything. Okay, first exercise, early patternings. So the directions were, although we seldom connect the dots, many of our present day losses are connected to our early conditioning. Children may be told they can't do anything, or equally damaging, be told they should be able to do absolutely anything with ease. Either of these messages blocks the recipient. The following questions are aimed at helping you retrieve and decipher your own conditioning. Some of them may not apply. Write about what triggers you. I can't share these things. And also, when I was trying to do them, I found it hard. So I'm still working on that one, but next section is affirmations. The following affirmations affirm your right to your practice of your creativity. Select 5 affirmations and work with them this week. I'll just read those to you. I am a talented person. I have a right to be an artist. I am a good person and a good artist. Creativity is a blessing I accept. My creativity blesses others. My creativity is appreciated. I now treat myself and my creativity more gently. I now treat myself and my creativity more generously. I now share my creativity more openly. I now accept hope. I now act affirmatively. I now accept creative recovery. I now allow myself to heal. I now accept God's help unfolding my life. I now believe God loves artists. Then the tasks. My tasks feel so personal. So basically it was about the first one's about naming your dream. And one concrete goal that signals to you an accomplishment. And then thinking about the small steps that it takes to get to those dreams and accomplishments. And what actions can you take within the next 5 years, the next 2 years, the next 1 year, the next month, the next week, the next day? What is the smallest step that you can take in the direction of those dreams so that they don't feel so big and overwhelming? She asks, what might you have been if you'd had perfect nurturing? And I mourn this still to this day. I feel angry about the childhood that I feel like I could have had my parents been, I don't want to blame them either, because they did the best that they could with what they had and what they knew, because that's what they did. And this is their first time living too, so I don't want to punish them anymore for the life that I had. I had the life that I had. But I think if my childhood would have been optimal, I wouldn't have such a hard time expressing myself, I would be fearless. I would be free. I would be resistant to shame. Shame wouldn't touch me. I would be patient with myself. And I am learning how to be. She said, pick a color scheme, write a few sentences describing yourself in the first person. I said, I am blue, I am peaceful, I am sensitive, I am calm, I am wise, I am deep. She said, list 5 things you're not allowed to do. Now do that thing on paper. Write it, draw it, paint it, act it out, collage it, put some music on, and dance it. I don't want to share those. She said, style search, list 20 things you like to do. I said, run, lift, cry, sing, yoga, scroll, lay down, watch movies or shows, read, play music, eat and drink, shower, go to the beach, dance, learn, talk, get a massage, shop, write, explore new places. And then she asked about those things. Does it cost money or is it free? Expensive or cheap? Do you do it alone or with somebody? Is it job related? Is there physical risk? Is it fast paced or slow? Is it mind, body, or spiritual? And I think that's just to create awareness around those things, what they mean to you. And then she said, with those things in mind, plan a perfect day with no restrictions. Allow yourself to be and to have whatever your heart desires. Your ideal environment, job, home, circle of friends, intimate relationships, stature in your art form, your wildest dreams. So that's it. That's the tasks, basically. And I don't think I gave myself enough time to focus on them. I didn't give them my full attention this week. I have been spread thin. I've been working hard this week, subbing. And then just emotions yesterday and today been coming up. So thank you for being here with me. I really appreciate your time and attention. Hope that the Artist Way is going good for you. I'd love to hear from you in the comments about where you're at with this journey, what resonated with you, what you liked, what you didn't like. Please give me some feedback on how I can improve these videos for you if you're watching. Yeah, I hope you're taking good care of yourself because this world's really crazy. I'm thinking of you and sending you my love and support. So thank you for yours. Please like and subscribe if you got anything from this video. Yeah, and then just talk to me, please. So I hope that you're well. This has been a long goodbye, but now I am officially leaving. Goodbye.